Hello, folks. It's Jonathan at the Piano Lesson, and sometimes as I say, I try to plan my lessons, but sometimes I don't plan my lessons. It's usually more fun to do it spontaneously, like jazz. Um, but I caught this wonderful piece of music today. Um, on We have a great local classical station, all classical, as the name would imply. But it's Beethoven Sonata, Opus 14, number 1 in E major. And there's a section in it, which I'm going to get to. I'm kind of scrolling down now and sort of looking for it, but it's little section in 3/4, kind of towards the middle, the end of the piece. How do I pronounce this? Maggiore? I don't know. Maggiore. How do we pronounce that? I should know. But I started out the day thinking that I wanted to talk a little bit about Barry Harris's scales, because he was always spitting fire about how Mozart lied to us. And his scales have 7 notes. My scale has 8 notes. But there's a reason behind it. But I think probably anyone who's dealt with it has some inkling of why he did that. But I want to be very explicit about what the reason was. And then I managed just to hear this piece of Beethoven today, and it just related to the two. The thing about Barry Harris's scale is that it implies a key modulation to the relative minor, and also it does something rhythmically to change the phrasing. So there's something rhythmic and there's something harmonic about the scale. So the basic, I'll just write these out here, right? That's 1 and that's 2. Okay, so the regular scale, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and the Barry Harris scale: C, D, E, F, G, G sharp, not A flat, A, B, C. So you have that extra note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you have the octave, right? And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the octave. So the first one sounds, that's our 2 major tetrachords. But his scale, right, that's his major. I guess there are 4 different scales that he talks about. So you still have the 2 tetrachords, right? But you have this chromatic note kind of plunked in there. And why is that there? Well, we'll look at it this way, but you can, I suppose, look at it as kind of like a mode of the harmonic minor scale. If you take the same notes, right, that's the harmonic minor, or the G natural would not be in the harmonic minor. That's the harmonic minor, right? So it's that extra note. But you see, if you're counting, right, it's, let's just say, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then the measure would end, and then you'd have 1. So let's just say in a measure of 4, okay? Whereas here, right, you're kind of shortchanged. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you're kind of left hanging. And then what happens there? Well, you got to get to 1 somehow. So how do composers resolve that? Well, they usually make the first note, let's say, longer. If you there's a 4-note scale. That's a melodic minor, A melodic minor. That's from Mozart, but he makes the first note longer. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. That's from this. he goes, what was it? Yeah, it was actually D harmonic minor in the Mozart. Yeah. D natural minor. I'm talking gibberish today, my friends. So that note implies the relative minor, right? If you look at the chords that would go with it, he always talks about playing 6 chords, right? So, you know, C, E, G, A, and then, you know, maybe another C up there, okay? But, you know, if you're playing chords, and then the inversion, and the inversion, and the kind of an inversion, C6, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion, which is A minor 7, and then you're back to the top. Right? That's the basic chord, and then every other chord is a passing chord, a diminished chord. It's right. Those are just inversions of the same chord, let's say. So you're playing, right? You're playing this right here. This chord is really E7. It's really 5 of 6. It's the secondary dominant of A minor. And then you could have the E in the bass every time. Now, I didndidn't play A in the bass when I got to, you know, here, right? Or so that's where the colors change. And again, rhythmically, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, as opposed to this 1, you know, diatonic. Let's just say, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you're resolving on an upbeat which doesn't work musically. So I think that's, you know, that's kind of the gist of, or the motivation behind those scales. One is just to be able to inject some kind of color, some kind of coloration, right? You know, I mean, if you're really going to play that way, I think that would be excessive. I would, you know, that's an excessive way to play. I don't think anyone would really want to play that way all the time. I don't think he did either. But I don't know his, you know, honestly, I don't know his playing that well. But you know, it's this balance, right, between dissonance and consonance, tension and release. But you know, typically you might do like, I mean, you might interject one of those, you know, along the way, or two, or something like that, right, along the way. And maybe not a bad idea if you practice that. Arpeggios. I don't know, just, there's all kinds of exercises you can do with that in your spare time. I'm sure you have a lot of spare time. Let me get to this little piece of Beethoven, because I just thought this was just the coolest thing, and the, you know, the main theme, you probably have heard it before. The main theme is, oh, it's wrong notes. That's the whole thing. I haven't played in a while. Dee, da, da, dee, da, da. Very interesting. Perfect fourth. Step down. Perfect fourth. Step down. Perfect. Then that's depending on how you spell it. He spells it D sharp up to B. So that's a minor sixth. Yeah, minor sixth, and then he ends on this, and the chords are E, A, 4. Well, that's interesting that there's no F sharp in the A chord, right? And then he plays. The reason Beethoven is so hard to play is because he's breaking a lot of rules. This is supposed to be 5/7. It isn't really. It's E, F sharp, A, D sharp. So there's no B. There should be. He has this pedal tone all along the way. It's just he gets the B. He does the B later on. He does this. Here's your B. It's just so brilliant how the displacement of the harmony, the rhythmic displacement of the harmony adds so much. Let me do that again so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to jump to the other section that I just think is so great. But you got E. And by the way, you have a repeat here. Anyway, A. And here's your F sharp. And to me, that's kind of foreshadowing. That's an anticipation of the 5 chord because there's an F sharp in there. And it's really F sharp minor, isn't it? I mean, ultimately, it's F sharp minor 7. But the way he voices it, it sounds like it sounds so glorious and fresh, and I don't know. It's just a wellspring of inspiration. That chord, isn't that glorious? And then this. Who the heck plays stuff like that? There's a major 7th there. That's a dissonance. Nobody thinks of that stuff. Even now, there's your, and then B7. Then, all right. Now let me jump to the other section because I want to try to tie these two things together. This is just something I just found super interesting. And I just kind of got a wild hair and thought, hey, let's talk about this. Scrolling. There we go. Okay. This is a very short section. You should find this section in the music. There's a lot of free versions of this. This is, but this is where this is in 3/4, and it goes like this. Get my feet here. So we have. I want to play it real slow. 1, 2, 3. One, two, portamento. 1. We're back to C. Isn't that amazing? Like this, that he just went from, he started in C and he ended in G. It's very, very common. But look at all of the back roads he took, all the subtleties, all the twists and turns, just to get those, key modulations, all those deceptive cadences. So let's kind of go through that for a minute. And I'm just going to kind of try to sketch this out. This This is what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 bars. Okay, so 16 bars. I guess we could do that. So let's just take a look here. First we got C, and then we have G7, but you still have that C as a pedal tone down there, and then back to C. And he starts out with a third on top. The third is the most beautiful note in a chord, and then you get to the cadence. Da, da. That's really the melody, even though you hear dee da 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 da. The melody is dee da. That's really the melody. C. Da da dee da. Then he plays the G. That's an implied G chord, let's say. And then that's your you know. Then you have this. A and F sharp, and then B and E. So you have a chord on each, an implied chord on each one, G7 here, and then what would you call that? Stepping up? I mean, I'm not sure what harmony I would. And back to C. So I'm going to leave that open for a moment. Maybe someone will write in and have a good idea. Again, you have this major 7 in the bass. Listen to that tremendous dissonance down there. Nobody writes that. That's Beethoven. G7 with the C pedal. And then C goes over the bar line, and then stepping up. So here's your sort of Barry Harris moment, where I call it a Barry Harris moment, but C. There's the chromatic, right? You know, there's your. And rhythmically, it makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 1. Because we always think in 4/4, but in this instance, it's in 3/4. And you know, he doesn't do. He could do that, but he does this. So C starts the theme over again. But now he develops it another 8 measures. C on 2 counts, and then G with B in the bass. And then here's your relative minor, A minor. That implies the secondary dominant in the key of G. We might need a little more room here, but it implies the D7, 5 of 5, and it resolves on first count G. Sorry, I'm cramming the stuff in, and then right there's your implied D major. Now that's a diminished chord, I guess by itself. There's no D, but I still hear a D there, F sharp diminished, but you know it's kind of a D in a sense. D7, it's kind of a D7, but there's no D there. There's an implied C with E in the bass, and then isn't that beautiful? So you have D sharp, F sharp, and B. There's your B major. But he spreads those notes out, and then on the third count you have something that sounds like E minor. Again, that's your secondary dominant, That's 5 of E minor, which is 3 in the key of C, and then the third 3 chord, E minor. And then it goes back to C. What seems like C, but it goes up to A. So it's, again, he's kind of teetering between the major and the relative minor. E, A minor, C, E, A minor. Everything is very fragile in Beethoven's writing. You know, they're not clunky, blocky chords. Everything is just really finely tuned. And then this is suspension. Really, really on the verge of, there's your 5 of 5, D. There's the F sharp. You could think of that D7. It's really D7. It's all D7, but it's all displaced, or all rhythmically displaced. And then you have the passing tone, and then finally gets to the G. And then he starts going down the scale. And you're back to the repeat. You're back to the top again. All right. Sorry for the mess, guys. I've never played this before, but I've heard it a million times. But, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And notice how the cadences, how the resolutions, you know, kind of shift. You know, there's the resolution on, there's tonic, count 1. That's normal, count 1. Count 1. By the way, rests are very important in Beethoven. I'm kind of mangling the rest a bit, but there's a rest in the left hand on 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. That's really important. And then your C. Yeah, all right. E1, A minor. Now that's a resolution to G. But is that where we are? I kind of got lost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 measures. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 measures. Kind of right there. He's resolving on count 3 this time. 1, 2, 3, 1. That's clearly C to the relative minor. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I mean, that's a resolution on count 3. Then he goes 1, 2, 3, 1, and he fakes you out. He doesn't resolve. He's getting ready to go to E minor. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. No resolution. 3, E minor. It's a resolution. It's a very weak resolution. Again, on count 3 on E minor. 1, 2, 3. Resolution on count 3. 1, 2, 3. And then resolution on count 1. So it's quite magical what's going on. We're going to come up for air. Hello. You can see how, you know, to me it's like a kaleidoscope. It's like being in the middle of a kaleidoscope, you know, and these changing, shifting colors, you know, and it's all, there's the notion of actual harmony, right? Going to these deceptive cadences, or going to, you know, how many keys does he go through there? He's in C, he's in G, he's in E minor, he's in A minor. And logical keys, but they don't sound stuffy or predictable or boring, at the least. And the main keys, right, the C and the G, right, those are on count 1. The other keys are displaced. The other keys resolve on count 3 in this instance. So that's I guess, how Beethoven, kind of succeeds in traveling through and morphing through all of these key modulations in a very light-footed manner, making sure that he's not just stamping on count one or even count two for that matter. And it just sounds, and finally when you get to the G, you're like, oh, wow, thank you so much. Like, can I have an ice cream cone? But that little section, okay, just that little section is enough to practice for the rest of your life, to make a little exercise out of. If you were my students, I would have you practice just those 16 bars and transpose them, or at least make sure that you understand what's going on. And there's some more subtleties too in terms of, you can identify passing tones and so on. So I don't know. I just thought that was very inspiring, and it's the kind. I'll just end with this. You know how you can tell a great piece of music? Because when you hear it, it sounds as if it's always been here, and it will always be here. And how could the world ever have been without it? Although it was without it for, most of the world's history, really, which is shocking to think of that. That we didn't have Beethoven from the time of the cavemen, right? But, to me, that's when you have a great piece of music. Well, this is Jonathan, the piano lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.